detective wasn't all that it was cracked up to be. Every morning I came in to find my notebook full of new problems. This time, it was a doozy. Multiplication. All I knew were the two factors, 23 and 18. That means I had 23 groups of 18. Detective Algebra, find the product. I knew what I had to do, and that was estimate. I needed to break down my equation into two benchmark numbers that made sense to me. Those two numbers I'm going to use are 20 by 20. Those are two benchmark numbers that are relatively close to the problem, and they are going to help us get where we need to be. 2 times 2 is 4, and we know that with patterns, we'll drop both zeros down. 400. It's looking like we had a place to start. Estimation, 400. Well, 10 plus 10 is 20. 10 plus 10 is 20. Here we go. Let's get this show on the road, and let's solve this equation. Well, I knew tonight was going to be a late night, but I knew what answer I was looking for. Around 400, which was my estimate. Now the real work began. I broke 23 times 18 down into smaller, more digestible parts for me. 2 rods, both measuring 10 and 3 units for my 23. 18, I had 1 rod measuring 10, 8 units. Now the equation was the same, but it was broken down. 10 times 10, well, I knew that was 100. 10 times 8, well, I knew that was 80. Using these 8 rods. I knew that 10 times 10 was 100. And I knew that 10 times 8 was 80, as I'd seen that equation before. 3 times 10, well, I knew that was 30, as I used my 3 rods to measure. And I knew that 3 times 8 was 24. And as I used these pieces, I thought that maybe the Detective Academy could buy me some new ones, for looks like there was some budget cuts. Now, I was able to solve this equation. What I did was simple, see? I had all the answers right in front of me. I was able to count and collect the information that I saw. 2 flats, 200, and I wrote it down. I counted my rods, each measuring 10, and I had 19 rods. That was 190. And I had 8 times 3, which was 24, documented on my detective notes. I did the equation, and my answer frightened me. 414, which is not too far off from my actual estimation. Looks like this is a ballpark plus or minus 15. I think it's safe to say I solved this case. That's the thing with being a detective. Everybody always wants another way. And when I came home from work and I saw the lettuce on the ground, well, I knew what I had to do. The lattice method. Detective work was never over, and I needed to show everyone another way to solve this. The lattice way. I broke this down by breaking my numbers 23 times 18. I made it into a quadrant, and then I broke that down into additional halves, shooting out the bottom to create additional columns. These would become my ones, tens, hundredths, and thousands. I started on the right, 3 times 1, and I knew that was 3. There's 2 positions here, but only 1 number. So I did a 0. 3 times 8, well, I knew that was 24. Moving over to the left, 2 times 1, well, I knew that was 2. 0 there, only 1 digit. And I knew that 2 times 8 was 16. Now I could collect my numbers. I knew in the ones area, all I had was the 4. The 4 would come down here. In my tens, I had a 6, a 2, and a 3. 3 and a 2 is 5. 5 plus 6 is 11. Well, I had to regroup that 11 by putting one of them there and regrouping it up here. Now I had a 1, a 2, and a 1 for a grand total of 4. Collecting the numbers, I have 400, 110, and 4 ones for a grand total of 414. Lattice method, you haven't let me down. Looks like Detective Algebra solved another case.